H.N. Workman. H.N. Workman experimented on press. We have to remember that H.N. Workman was working in an old letterpress context. He was printing on an old machine. That machine looked something like, after we look at him, it looked something like this. Let me show you. So here's a print that came off a letterpress. But look, every single angle, every moment has to be set individually. And every color has to be printed individually. So first we print black, then we have to go in and print the green, right? And as I was mentioning, every letter form in the old days was set individually. They would actually deal with individual letters, and they would set these letters inside cases. There were upper cases full of larger letter forms and lower cases full of smaller letter forms. Can you see how we might have gotten the names of our upper and lowercase letters, of course? You can see that the actual piece of type that you would pull out of a case, can you imagine this, by the way, as a 6-point font or as a 20-point font? How difficult it would be to restock that back in the case when you were done, breaking it down right after you've set it. The face is literally the part that accepts ink, A-type face. Type does have faces, okay? The counters are the spaces in between the strokes. You see these are two counters. They're not enclosed, but they're still counter spaces. The nick is located at the bottom of the typeface, and it's helpful for alignment purposes to know that you have the type oriented properly. Remember, type is backwards when you're setting it, and you set type upside down and backwards. And so this is actually upside down. It should be, if it were right side up, it would be upside down and backwards. Okay, I rotated it so you could see how it was set. But there you go. Once type is set, often we tie it before we lock it down with furniture. We tie it with a string to keep it together. We slide it off of the tray and we lock it down on the bed of the press with furniture and other mechanisms to secure it or keep it in place. And so if we go back for a second and think about H.N. Workman's pieces, he built these on a letterpress, an old style letterpress. Can you imagine locking all this down? Can you imagine trying to print and align those colors? Can you imagine the world that he lived in? It's not the click, delete, Command Z world, okay? You can't undo in this world. You have to redo. And often I have students do a letterpress project, and their first reaction when they make a spelling error is, "You're not going to deduct points because I misspelled something, are you?" And my answer is, well, of course I am. I'm judging the piece as a final piece. If you make a mistake, you have to fix it the way we always had to fix it. That would be reprinting it. Okay. On the computer, that's easy. You simply go in, delete, type the word, and hit print. On a letterpress, you have to reassemble if you've broken down your type. Okay. You have to re-ink the press. You have to run the paper back through. You can see how elaborate and difficult this would be. Yet how beautiful the work was within that context. So let's talk about Kurt Schwitters. Kurt Schwitters was a collage artist. He built assemblages as well. He's known for, in fact, he says, I'm a painter that builds my paintings, or something to that effect. He actually would build structures, but he would find objects, of course, and assemble them. A very different way of thinking about typography, but still you'll notice that there is a sense of alignment about what he does. And that's important to note, that there is a sense of alignment, central axes, small, medium, and large shaped objects within the same composition. That's important when we think about Kurt Schwitters. Tristan Zarza, a name that you should be familiar with from your art history classes. Look at the rhythm, look at the alignment, look at the actual sort of spontaneity of it as well. So we have alignment points, and then we have a contrasting that alignment, all this beautiful asymmetry. Something to really pay attention to, but everything's aligned on this one axis, generally speaking. Okay, another one focusing on alignment. Marionetti. Again, very expressive. Now this threw a lot of the rules out the window, challenging this idea of the grid and alignment, okay? Really saying out with the rules and in with chaos, okay? Very, very expressive, very interesting, okay? E.E. Cummings, looking at the placement of the word as a way to change the way the reader experiences the piece. You read this very differently than you would if it was all set left justified. Though it's important to note, there is alignment in these pieces. right? We're following a central axis here. This axis, horizontal axis, is repeated. The rhythm, he was able to communicate through negative space. Okay. Remember, the negative space is just as important as the positive space. E coming, right? Apollinaire looked at letter forms not as shapes necessarily, but parts of illustrations. And could he write poems or phrases or statements in forms to change the meaning or enhance the meaning of the thing being said? Apollinaire. Robert Masson, or Massin, however you want to say it. Expressive typography, but still alignment. Radially aligned, okay, emanating from a central point, aligned along an axis. There's a purpose, a reason, a rhyme to what's happening. It's not random per se. There's a reason and a purpose to what's happening. I'll show you a couple of the spreads. Looking at type expressively. Can type say something? Can the way we arrange letter forms express emotion? Can it express volume? Can it express intensity? Absolutely. And so this was back when the photo plate was invented. You can see he was actually bending type around objects and photographing it and then using that film to create plates and then print from. Much more expressive, much more flexibility, but still you'll see based on a set of rules. Okay. Conversational type. Right. What about conflicting type? There he is. You wouldn't really expect this work to come from a man that looked like this, would you? As they say, you can't judge a book by its cover. Joanna Drucker, still alive today, experimenting with type, playing with arrangements and systems. Okay, there she is.